Hey everybody, in this video we're going to talk about sexuality, and we're going to talk about shame that oftentimes a lot of people face when it comes to really embodying their sexuality. I'm libido expert Dr. Diane Mueller, and this topic is so near and dear to my heart because I think it's such a big problem that we're still really overriding. So in this video, I want to talk about why this is happening, why there's shame around sexuality, as well as what you can do as a woman to help yourself heal from this. So this channel really is dedicated to women, so that's why I'm going to focus on that in this video. So why is this happening? Why is there shame with sexuality? And some of this is really a combination of culture, and that means culture at a large, right? That means like society, that means TV, that means media. It means how, as a female, sex has been portrayed to you and what sexuality should look like. So one of the biggest things that we're starting to come out of, but there's been a long period where men who are exploring their sexuality are almost revered, and women have been slut shamed, right? If they have more than one partner, it's all of a sudden, it's so easy for women to get that label, right? And that's been going on for centuries and centuries and centuries and centuries. I was talking to a friend of mine who had visited all of these chapels and museums and basilicas in Europe, and was talking about how there was these sometimes hidden pictures of these erotic pictures of women like opening their legs, and you'd have to lie on your back and look at a peephole, and then you'd be able to see what this artist's depiction was, right? And so to me, that's like going back and saying, okay, well, there's this huge amount of power and pleasure that really exists in the female erotic organs, right? The female anatomy. And that's been so for so many centuries. And this, this museum example is an example of this, of like, it was almost like this hidden thing, right? It's like the female pleasure, the female passion, the female power, right, that really exists between our legs was almost hidden and cast out and shamed for many years. So we're dealing with centuries old of this shaming that really has been, created about women, about our anatomy, about our bodies, on and on and on and on. So I think that's a huge portion of where this comes from. So I'm telling this story because I want you to realize, if you're feeling shame about this has been going on for centuries. And so hopefully that can help with any sort of self-compassion around, like, this is so beyond just one, society's problem. We're trying to repattern something in women that's been, a shamed activity for a really, really long time. It's really, disturbing. Another component is even in our current society, how certain words are looked at as bad, right? So the word pussy, for example, like men use this word as a way of talking about somebody who is weak, right? It's this negative type of word, right? Don't be a, weak person, right? Insert word here. And it's really, really upsetting, I feel like, because this, I feel like, is also like makes the female anatomy all of a sudden seem bad or wrong or weak, instead of good and powerful and full of pleasure, right? This whole like hit like a girl, throw like a girl thing that I have also heard in society, all of these are the same types of things that are really connected to the shame that oftentimes women have around their own sexuality. There's so much with body image and shame around body image or genital image that is also really connected to this shame picture. And then another component of this is how you were raised to hear about sex, what sex was, said to you in your, childhood. Was sex before marriage a bad thing? Was sex with more than one partner a bad thing? Did sex have to look only one way? Was sex really just about providing for the man and not about any of your own pleasure? If any of these are ringing true to you, this is also a place where sexual shame comes in. And so The first kind of step with really working through this, if you have any trauma in your history regarding sexuality, make sure you're working with somebody that can help you go through that trauma, heal from that trauma in a way that's not retracing. We want to make sure that you're not reliving that experience and you're working with a professional to help heal from that trauma. Sometimes I'm seeing success with things like IV ketamine, for example. That can be something that is now being used for a lot of trauma that can help to heal from a psychotherapy. So I would consider that's becoming a lot more popular throughout the United States and other areas of the world. So that's an example for you. But another way of, especially if you don't have trauma in your past or you're healed from trauma, then another thing you can really do is you can really work on your blueprint. So the blueprint idea, and this idea that we all have blueprints, Tony Robbins talks about this a lot. I love his work on how he talks about blueprints. But essentially the idea is that we have whatever your beliefs are around sex. That forms this blueprint of how oftentimes we are engaging sexually. So if your blueprint is composed of shame, is composed of grief, is composed of embarrassment or fear or anything else based upon your history, whatever you learned about sex, that has created some level of value system and belief system around sex. And if you haven't updated this value system, this blueprint, this belief system, then one of the problems is you can be continuing to play out the same sort of problems in your sexual life. And so you really want to begin to start looking at and seeing what is really the basis of your belief system. If you feel shame around sex, what is that true belief? Is it that you believe sex is bad? Is it you believe that sex out of marriage is bad? Is it that you believe that the only goal of sex is really to provide something for your partner? The more you can actually really break down if you are experiencing shame, there's always a thought process that's creating shame, right? We don't just wake up and we're like, oh, I have shame about sex. But there's an underlying belief that's always driving that emotion. There's a lot of people out there that have talked about this in psychological approaches. And so when we have an underlying belief, an underlying thought, and because of that underlying thought, there's shame. Like, for example, if you've had sex with more than one person and you have a belief that due to your religious, dogma, that all of a sudden you are bad, right? That is an example of what could create shame. And that shame is related to I am bad in this example. So we want to figure out what is underlying that belief. And then I like to take people through a brain retraining exercise that I created out of some studies and out of working with a lot of people on resetting their thought processes. And it really is starting with just doing an exercise like I'm describing. You really just begin to take a step back and say, okay, I'm going to look at my beliefs and I'm not going to judge them. There's no judgment here. There's nothing wrong with them. We're not labeling them as good or bad. We are just labeling them as these are the things that I believe and these are the thought processes I've had. Sometimes there's even a discrepancy between the beliefs and the thought processes, right? But you want to start to figure out what are the beliefs, what are the thought processes that are really behind that shame that you're having. Then what I really find is it's good to not say, try to override these thoughts. Like if you have a belief that you should not enjoy sex, if that's your belief, right? And so you have shame because you feel like you should not enjoy sex, then you want to take a step back and we don't want to push that thought away and just like repeat, like we're a monk on top of on top of a mountainside. This whole thing around like, okay, I'm just going to then repeat like sex is pleasurable. If you're feeling like, you should not enjoy pleasure, just repeating those words don't tend to fix the problem. Because oftentimes, if there's part of you that feels like, oh, I shouldn't enjoy this pleasure, there's probably something deeper than that, right? There's probably something that is driving, well, why should you not enjoy pleasure? Why is that a problem, right? So there's probably something driving that. And that is also some part of you that really believes that. And so we want to be careful about we don't want to push that part of ourselves away. There's this psychological approach called parts work, which is where we start to integrate all these different parts of ourselves that have different feelings, right? There's so many examples of different parts of ourselves having different feelings, right? In the sex world, it could be as simple as, I want to have sex with my partner and I want to go to sleep right now. So we have two parts of ourselves that want different things. That happens all the time. And in parts work, there's this idea of like not all parts sometimes can have the exact same thing simultaneously, but how do all these parts of ourselves become integrated so they all feel heard and so we can be a more integrated and self-expressive human being. So with the shame around sex, if you can identify what parts of yourselves are feeling and thinking and believing, and then also ask other parts. So it's like we want to continue to ask why. So, and to ask good questions. So, if we're saying, pleasure, like in this example of, okay, I don't believe I should have pleasure with sex, right? So if that's something that you feel shame about, is actually wanting to have pleasure, we might start asking ourselves a question of like, what would be amazing about having pleasure with sex? What could this give to my life? What could this give to my relationships? How could this help me? And so we're asking ourselves these questions with these types of frames. So the other part of ourselves that's like, yeah, I really want to enjoy sex, can actually come at this and start to almost present these ideas and these beliefs around like, oh, sex can make me closer to my partner. Sex can help me combat stress. Sex can help me more enjoy my days. Sex can help me show up to my job and to the people I love with a clearer mind and a more open heart, right? And so we allow those parts of ourselves that feel these other ways to start to get stronger and stronger and stronger voices. And then all of a sudden, it's not saying that maybe there's still some part of ourselves that is feeling another way, but that part begins to dominate the show less and less and less, and we move more into the experience of the joy and the pleasure around our sexuality. So I hope that helps. That's how I have found working with shame and these uncomfortable emotions with sex can really start to be shifted. Remember, it's not about pushing away, it's about adding to and adding these other parts to ourselves that are really working in how we actually retrain our brain, how we come at our sexuality in a different way. So please leave your questions in the comments. Again, I'm Dr. Diane, your Libido Doc. Please subscribe if this has been helpful, and please don't keep me a secret. Share me with your friends and family. I'll see you next time.